To discuss this and more, I'm joined by my colleagues, our correspondents from the three capitals among the many that are shaping this conflict. Nick Harper from Washington, D.C., Laura Makin-Isherwood from London, and Rosie Burchard from Brussels. Thank you all for joining me here. Let's start with you, Nick. America has sent additional troops to Europe. What can you tell us about their mission? And does the U.S. fear that the war is going to spill out of Ukraine?
Well, that certainly is the fear from the US president. Joe Biden has spoken about that fear, that he feels President Putin's end goal is to stretch beyond Ukraine. He feels that he's trying to rebuild the former Soviet Union, and that is the big concern from US military officials, and why we're seeing them send additional troops to those Eastern European countries. However, the president has made it very clear that those troops will not be stepping foot inside Ukraine, instead surrounding it, to be in those NATO countries. Because if President Putin were to step outside of Ukraine into, say, Poland, for example, the US president has warned that he, along with all of the NATO allies, would be prepared to defend every inch of NATO territory. So the US troops are there. They're there to support the mission, but they're also there for any potential Russian incursion into any of the other countries around Ukraine. The hope is that obviously that will not happen, but the President Biden has made it very clear that the US is ready should it end up being a reality, something that so far hasn't taken place. But drawing up those contingency plans has been very much top of mind for Pentagon officials over the last couple of weeks as they were warning about this invasion and then as they saw it unfold.
Laura, what's the latest on sanctions? We're told the British Prime Minister is under immense pressure to seize the property of Russian oligarchs living in the UK. What can you tell us about this?
Yeah, Prime Minister Boris Johnson has been criticised by opposition members in the House of Commons over the last couple of days. Plenty of other activists as well, wondering why he isn't going further when it comes to individual actors within the UK that have huge assets, essentially, and property that is within this area of the world. Liz Truss, the Foreign Secretary, has met with a number of her counterparts from Eastern European nations today. She's gone and said that actually she now thinks all Russian banks should face sanctions. Previously, a couple of EU countries had persuaded the EU to allow Gazprom and other banks that are associated with energy to continue to work in those countries. But now Liz Truss is saying that all need to be included in those sanctions. And that is the way in which the UK thinks it can try to cripple Russia's economy, going hard with those sanctions, excluding banks, excluding individuals from allowing them to use the UK as a place to hold their cash or even to access it. And they are hoping that that impact could effectively reduce the amount of cash that flows towards what the Prime Minister called Russia's war machine. And they hope that that is the way that they can have maximum impact without moving any further, as you say, using the military or anything else like that.
Rosie, NATO foreign ministers are set to hold an emergency meeting in Brussels. What do we expect from this meeting?
Well, this certainly is an emergency meeting held in emergency times. Those foreign ministers of all 30 NATO allies are due to meet in Brussels on Friday. We'll expect attendance of the US Secretary of State Blinken, the UK Foreign Secretary Liz Truss, the German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock, and all the others. So they will be locked in talks for the morning in Brussels, and we can expect them to discuss further how to beef up the alliance's eastern flank. So those are those member countries of NATO in Eastern Europe or in the Baltics that, of course, feel pretty exposed at this time. They've told other NATO allies that they do feel there might be a threat to their security.
Nick, Laura, Rosie, thank you very much for those updates and for joining us on this broadcast. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.